only group to be solely focused on equity, and so our main focus is leveling the playing field, especially in regards to youngsters. So, without further ado, would you like to continue, Bella?
Yes, so our projects are on kind of diverse perspectives around equity. So we have Audrey discussing reconciliation between police and her community in New York City. We have Eric talking about access to medical care in Brazil. Jenny is talking about LGBTQI inclusion in Hong Kong. And my project is about arts access for Seattle urban youth.
Our basic purpose for all of our projects is that we want to do inclusion, and that creates a stronger community to bring about issues in our community and to help them.
And we would like to thank Jenny, my namesake, and Dr. Sid for guiding us on this journey.
Yes, thank you everyone. I'll be the first one to present. Out of everyone here, which means I'm setting a precedent about everything else, if anything. So, my name is Erik. I'm from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, the city that's hosting the Olympics. As many of you may know, the Olympics actually start today, so we'll see how that goes. But anyways, so I was very excited to join the GCOS community and to engage in the global service project that I hope will definitely help better my community, since Rio has so much disparity in so many areas. My project focuses on two main characteristics. One is improving the access to medical care in Brazil, and the other is helping foster, even if indirectly, the culture of individual donations in my region. And I phrase these goals as how might we questions to the spirit of the design thinking workshop, which this summit engaged with on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. So, to better understand why I'm severely interested in conducting this project and why my community also needs it, you will need a bit of background information on my whole, a bit of my life, a bit of my experience, and a bit of my community. So, first, in regards to my community, Rio is incredibly socially unequal, and while many cities in the third world have social inequality in the periphery and in other areas, Rio is especially interesting because due to its mountainous terrain, a lot of the poorer communities are in mountains very close to the richer areas, which puts the whole thing into perspective. For example, I live in one of the better locations, but each day I'm face to face with adversity that people in extremely destitute communities face each day. So I included here a very brief picture of, it might be a bit hard for you to see, but basically to your right, you have, I believe, the neighborhood with the largest human development index in the whole of Brazil, called Gávea, and to the left, you have the neighborhood with the lowest human development index in Rio, which is a slum called Rocinha, and it has incredibly high rates of tuberculosis, and it has open sewage water, and it has all these things which diminish the health conditions of people there, and also the affluence of people there is incredibly low, which makes it harder for them to seek aid in certain conditions. Interestingly enough, my school is actually right here in the middle of it all. So, in regards to my personal history, back in my late childhood, I had an intestinal condition that basically no one in Brazil knew about, and I had to seek medical aid in the United States, and it was kind of expensive, and also I nearly died 7 times in 2013, which really changed my perspective on life and how I can help people. So that's my own personal history in terms of my engagement. I've also engaged extensively with several different non-for-profits. I participate in something called the Global Issues Network in South America, which helps us understand more of the NGO world, and I also know a lot about Operation Smile, the NGO itself, and also Nam Yoga, which is another non-for-profit in California. So I know what can and can't be done in this scenario. And out of this whole thing, I made a few takeaways, which were that there is severe medical need, there's severe lack of medical access in Rio, especially since public health is so terrible and people don't have money to get proper treatment. And I also would like to help, given my own personal history. And I also understood that I have no name credibility as of the moment, so I can't provide the medical help myself. But what I can do is help a larger non-for-profit, such as Operation Smile, provide this help by giving funds to them, by raising funds to them. And I also understood that there's a notorious national aversion to giving individual donations by fundraising and crowds. And also crowds in Brazil need an immediate reward for them to do their own funding. So I realized that I need to do some sort of selling as a donation aspect. And also I know a lot about the food trucking business, which is booming in Brazil. So in sum, I decided to do my project revolving, using all of these facets, and basically I'll develop a food bike, which requires a smaller amount of capital investment, around $2,000 US. And I'll participate in food trucking events where I will, I already have the catering business of course, and basically I'll translate this into food bike, which will sell goods to more affluent communities in Rio, and use the funds for donations to probably Operation Smile in the first phase, and in the future I'll see how this develops and how much I can contribute to this cause. Finally, in terms of design thinking, it's a breakthrough project because there are no food bikes with a charity purpose in Brazil. It has a human-centered approach. It's dealing directly with people, and it also has an inexpensive first attempt, as in a trial run requires a lesser amount of capital investment, which makes the whole project feasible. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. It was the first one, so I hope I actually set good precedence for the And now, Audrey.
Hello, everyone. My name is Audrey Reyes, and I come from New York City. My project is based on police brutality reconciliation, and my project is named CTN, which means Come Together Mentor, because when I was making this project, I was like, come together. So, I want to start off with a quote. You don't fight racism with racism. The best way to fight racism is with solidarity. Solidarity means unity. You have to come together as a group and with mutual feeling to fight against racism and to combat the racial tension that we have in the United States today. In the U.S. currently, there's been a lot of cases surrounding police brutality, such as Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, and Mike Brown. Eric Garner was a 400-pound man who was held down by a group of police officers in a chokehold against the pavement in New York City, and he died. Tamir Rice was a 12-year-old boy who was playing with an air gun, and the police mistook it for a real gun and shot him. Mike Brown was in Ferguson, and he was shot unarmed, and it fueled the Ferguson riots that have been so publicly in the news a few years back. The users that I want to target are police officers that have been getting a bad rap because the media only sees the police officers that are not doing their jobs and that are only fueled by racism. So we need to change people's mentality of how they view police officers. And also minorities who police officers may have bad stereotypes and think that certain minority groups only do bad things in their lives, which is not true at all. So all of these things influence the Black Lives Matter movement, which has fueled protests that may have become violent riots, and that's not what they're fighting. They're not fighting to be violent. They want to try to pursue civil rights for this country. And the social media is Black Lives Matter against Blue Lives Matter, which is becoming very one-sided as to you have to be on the side of the police officers or the side of minorities, and that's not the case at all. What we need to have is a unity of both groups to create a more just society. And so I asked myself the question, how might we reduce racial tensions within communities, and how might we change how difficult situations are handled? Because police officers may have racism and stereotypes that influence how they might treat a certain person in trying to reduce a difficult situation. So one possible solution I've thought to this problem that's so huge is police mentorship. In my community, I want to try to do one police officer assigned to a team to help with college process or to help with any issues that they may have in riots that come up in their communities, and to have an open community and a safe space to any challenges they may have. They could play basketball, or they could do many activities to bring them together to create more trust. And so the positive possibilities of this project is that it would be a model to other communities that police and minorities can come together to be a more close-knit community, and to instill trust between police officers and the enforcement, and more understanding, because I think that what we have today is everyone's angry at how everyone else is treating each other, and that fuels fear. And so what it is we need to dispel the fear and bring about more trust in order to bring the people together. And so that's my part.
Okay, so my name is Jenny, and I'm from Hong Kong. And I would first like to start off with a little quote, which is, "Openness may not completely disarm prejudice, but it is a good place to start." So I'd like to give you a little anecdote. When I first chose equity, I really wanted to do something for the LGBT community, because I have a lot of friends within those communities, but they lack the support that they need. And it's a very taboo subject, especially in Asian communities. However, I didn't even mention this project to my mentor because I was afraid that she would have different viewpoints and then I won't have a mentor anymore. So let me give you a little history lesson on why that is the way I think. So in 1993, a former legislator, her name is Anna Wu, she proposed the Equal Opportunities Bill to protect people of different sexualities, different races, different religions. That bill passed in 1995, but sexuality was never mentioned in that bill. In 2006, our chief executive, which is the equivalent of a president, he actually opposed the ruling of equal age of consent in heterosexuals and homosexual relationships. In 2007, the TV show incident. So basically, we have this documentary on homosexual couples, and they receive an overwhelming amount of complaints, and the broadcasting authority even pushed a lawsuit saying this is promoting the gay lifestyle. And luckily, that lawsuit was overturned. And only in 2011 did the medical professionals say that this is not a mental illness. So you can see that although we've progressed, we're still in a very nascent phase of our movement. So I have experience with a lot of people that are quite, close-minded on this issue. So me and my friends who are in the LGBT community, we ask ourselves, how might we start a conversation, especially among young people, because they're the major driving forces behind social changes. How might we start a conversation among them to talk about this issue? How might we raise community awareness through online publication? Because that is because social media is a very important part of our life right now. And how might we remove stigma and promote acceptance among people? So obviously, what we want for the stakeholders' future is we want equal rights for them. Because, for example, marriage, because that is a very major milestone in any relationship. We had talks about them in Hong Kong previously, but they were overturned because a lot of Christian schools or religious, even parents' organizations, they signed a petition to oppose that. And then we want to decrease stigma and have more progressive social views. We want to include sexual education on these issues provided by governments and schools. We want them to know that teenagers actually want to be educated on these issues. And we want an increase in media representation, because a lot of times what we have in TV figures, LGBT figures, they're portrayed as having a weird obsession or they have a weird fetish. So I came up with this project, which is a youth-driven website. And first of all, we're going to establish a core team of about 4 to 5 people of different LGBT representations. We also want writers, photographers, and people who are good with IT, because we want to put together a good website. We also need consultants, such as nonprofit organizations, and we actually have started contacting them, and luckily we got responses from both organizations we contacted. So our project timeline, which is at the bottom of the board, our first step, which we're in right now, is to contact organizations and consultants. And yesterday night, I was actually talking to one of the organizers, and she gave me a very, very clear and detailed view and a very different perspective on the LGBT movement in Hong Kong, which I wasn't aware previously, and so I'm very glad that I get to talk to her. And our second step is obviously to establish the website layout and the design, and then accumulate articles, website ready to be launched. We have contacted different youths in our schools that are interested in submitting articles to us and writing just anything. We want to promote a safe community for young people to come together and talk about this issue. And because we lack that youth support group and youth peer-to-peer interaction right now, I feel like a lot of the youngsters who are in the LGBT community, they lack the support. And then our fourth step is to promote in schools and social media. And then we want to launch and establish a readership, and then we can contact different figures when we have more credentials for interviews. And then lastly, obviously in the future, we want to collaborate with International Youth website, so this local project will turn into a global project. And so I would like to close with a quote again. So the quote is, "What is straight? A line can be straight or a street, but the human heart, oh no, it's curved like a road through mountains." And that is by Tennessee Williams in A Streetcar Named Desire. Thank you.
How can we make teenagers more likely to continue their education after high school? How do we make them feel more satisfied and more confident in themselves? What if I told you that we have the answer? It's the arts. Researchers Shirley Rice Heath conducted a decade-long study of high school kids' after-school programs, and those in arts-based curriculums were significantly more likely to say that they felt confident and desired to further their schooling. Art isn't a privilege, it's a right, and that's why access to enjoyment of art is deemed fundamental in Article 27 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. My name is Bella Devon, and the arts have always been a right to me. I'm from Seattle, Washington, famous for Starbucks and Boeing, and my joke is apples, but not Apple computers. And also known for its vibrant arts community. In Seattle, the Olympic Sculpture Park's red, arcing Calder sculpture frames the ferries in Elliott Bay. The Pacific Northwest ballerinas jeté and delight thousands. The Seattle Art Museum catapults artists to fame, and one-room galleries are illuminated in sunlight. And I've had a front row seat to it all, but the typical Seattle arts audience is a sea of homogenous, white faces like mine. And the antithesis of an arts community is an exclusive community. There's a little organization that I'd like to tell you all about called TeenTix. TeenTix is a nonprofit arts organization which ensures equitable arts access for all young people and empowers young people to engage in civic life through the arts. TeenTix supplies thousands of teen Seattleites with free passes, which entitle them to $5 entry fees at 64 regional arts organizations. But the typical TeenTix user is a white teenager like me, who could most likely afford the full price of a ticket and lives in a two-parent home in a nice neighborhood. Why aren't youth of color, youth in unstable or low-income housing, or youth who speak English as a second or third language more common TeenTix users? And how might we break down barriers to expand their access to art? Now, TeenTix also facilitates a teenage steering committee called the New Guard, which meets twice a month to strategize peer arts engagement, assist partner organizations, and city leaders in reaching youth, and plan special events which celebrate youth empowerment in the arts. I'm the president of the New Guard for the next school year, and while I'm happy with the way things are going, there are changes that need to be made to include the underserved and invite the underinvited. So I plan on using my New Guard post and TeenTix involvement to found Art for All, a multi-pronged initiative to expand TeenTix service use and arts accessibility justice. Art for All will employ 3 tactics. First, the New Guard will drive a get-out-the-vote style TeenTix registration drive at public high schools in my city's southern and central districts, a foster care assistance center, and a multilingual school this fall, tapping into the enthusiasm surrounding our tumultuous 2016 elections. Second, we'll negotiate and deploy $5 ticket fee waivers with our partner organizations, relying on fundraising if necessary. Finally, we know that Seattle is a difficult city to traverse and that transportation is limited, so we'll negotiate a partnership with the King County Metro Public Transport Service to deploy bus fee waivers for those who need that help to attend the symphony on Saturday night. Of course, an essential part of this work should be publicizing the increased accessibility and making sure that access to help is destigmatized. The goal of this is not to take a white savior approach, but to incite team-to-team camaraderie and community. So it's essential to my work that I get home, and I make sure that this strategy addresses and properly serves those who I wish it will. I anticipate challenges in making sure that my project is human-centered, sustainable, and most of all respectful, that it isn't intrusive and that it actually helps. My time to speak at GCYS has been deeply meditative on extending the table, reminding me that ethics are integral to the success of leadership and innovation. I think that my arts accessibility project aligns tremendously with what we've learned this week. So I'd like to close with a quote, as everyone else has, by Twyla Tharp, the great American dancer and choreographer. She said that art is the only way to run away without leaving home. Certainly, art lets us explore new worlds, explore ourselves in new contexts, and that is essential to the teenage experience. But it's also a way to find second homes, to find new communities that welcome you with open arms, in which you can take refuge and enjoy companionship and unadulterated fun. So I can't wait to expand TTIX's reach and ensure that art is accessible to all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.